Galen's got Parkinson's. Now, I've been getting ready to do a war game, or a couple of war games, based on 1970s science fiction. And interestingly, I was looking at my old rules and things I used and came across a copy of Stargard, which is the earliest science fiction rules I've found. I can't find any earlier ones anywhere, and I can't find reference to any earlier ones. And there was some interesting things about Stargard. Obviously, when we play the game, I'm going to play the game, and as things occur in the game, I'll tell you about them. But there were things that I thought it would be a good idea to tell you about outside the game, because I found them interesting. And then I've wondered, if I find them interesting, you might find them interesting. So I hope they are. Firstly, I was thinking about the way the Stargard do their rules. So when you look at Stargard, it doesn't say, like nowadays, you buy a set of rules, it'll say movement. And the first question people say is, how far can you move? But Stargard doesn't tell you. It just says people move, really. And light infantry move more quicker than medium infantry or robots. And each club, I'm talking about right at the beginning now, each club, each group of players would decide for themselves. So there are examples where people said 4 inches as a standard move. In fairness, most people said 6. And then light infantry went a bit faster, and heavier infantry, robots went a bit slower. But it doesn't say it. That's the point. It just says move. Rangers doesn't say. It just says short, medium, long. The weapons, they're all linked into the categories of troops. And the categories of troops, even if you stretch it, are really small. So you've got line infantry. When you look at line infantry, it gives you everything you need to know about line infantry. I wrote some of them down just so that I don't drop a clanger, tell you some fibs. So if you just bear with me. So, for example, line infantry, it says standard morale. Doesn't say what that is. It just says they have standard morale, light armour and beam weapons. Elite, and then in brackets, Marines, has better morale. Again, doesn't say what that is. Medium armour, blasters and heavy rifles, good in melee. Doesn't say what you throw, doesn't say how far they fire, nothing, that's it. Scouts, brackets light, high mobility. That's all you get. So then that explains, I think, why us older gamers don't slavishly follow rules. Nowadays, everyone wants, what rules are you following? And I just don't change them. You change the rules. No. Yeah, but that's when we started. You had to. There weren't none. Maybe that's why we do it. So you have to excuse us, old wrinkly wargamers, because we came up through a different thing, a different way of looking at the world, a different philosophy of gaming, which led me to another interesting thought. In Stargard, when you do morale, so you do morale, and the units have a morale factor. So, for example, I'll stick with the line infantry. Okay, so line infantry have a morale factor of 4. And then there's a whole list of modifiers. So if they have lost a casualty, that's -1. If they're more than 6 inches away from an officer, that's another -1. If they're within 6 inches of an officer, that's +1, and so on. There's a whole list of them. Shall I read them out? Yeah, okay. I'll read them out for you. Hang on. So, morale. Morale. Right, here we are. Taking casualties, -1. Officers 6 inches away or more, -1. Under fire in the open, -1. That's important. All 1970s rules, if you got fired at, shot at in the open, that was bad. That was a bad morale factor. The morale rules didn't like that in the 70s. It wasn't considered to be the norm. Attacks from the flank or rear, -1. Hit by explosive, -2. Losing close combat, -3. Then you've got the pluses. Leader within 6 inches, +1. In cover, +1. Veteran or elite, +1. Outnumber the enemy, +1. Doesn't say, well, it actually says outnumber the enemy in this area, but it doesn't tell you what this area is. It doesn't say like so many inches, or I don't know, maybe in a room, in a building, I don't know. Supported by armour, and by armour it means either troops in heavy armour who are they're incredibly resilient, they call them, and you can hardly stop them. They're fast, but they only move 4 inches at a time. Or robots who act very much like World War II armour, and again you have light, medium and heavy. So a heavy robot would be like a Panther tank. It takes some stopping. And there are very few troops will actually attack armour and monsters. You have to have a certain sort of level of morale before you'll even do it. You just won't do it. And what else we got? Oh, +2 if you're supported by robots. So they're your morale factors. Now, having got your morale factors, and your line infantry, I've got a base morale of 4. And you add and minus all of those modifiers I've just told you about, and then you say, okay, I've now got to get, and I wrote this down as well, so you throw D6. It doesn't say how many, that's important because of what I'm going to say next. A pass equals your total of your dice throw, modified with all your modifiers, and it's got to be greater than your morale rating. So for line infantry, throw a d6, modify it, pluses and minuses, it's got to be 4 or more. And then if you fail, you throw a d6, and 1, you surrender. 2, you rout a full move and an extra d6 at random. 3, you go to ground exactly where you are, you hit the dirt. 4, you retreat back to cover. And if cover is more than a move away, you keep going back till you get it.
Dried frog pills. This is a reminder. Dried frog pills.
I sometimes think I should time these things to avoid her telling me about my Parkinson's dopamine. But then it's almost like an advert for Parkinson's and my constant struggle with, and the reason for this site, because if I wasn't a wargamer with Parkinson's, I'm not sure I would be doing it. So I don't worry about that. That's almost like a public service announcement. Thank you. You're supposed to say thank you to Alexa. What was that? Just dropped to me now, and a train of thought's gone. What was I up to? Go to ground. 4, retreat to cover. Yeah. So you retreat 6, or whatever your score is, whatever you decided your move is, and a random d6. But if you've not got to cover, next move you've got to do it again, and you've got to keep doing it. You go, run away till you get to cover. 5, you just fall back a full move, and 6, continue as you desire. The thing I was going to talk about finally, and it is finally, is that throwing dice for morale was a choice. Whether you threw 1 or 2 dice, it doesn't say. It just says throw d6. Nowadays, some games, you throw 2 dice, don't you? Dragon Rampant, Lion Rampant, you throw 2 dice. If you want to activate a unit that you need a 6, you throw 2 dice. You add them together, it's got to be 6 or more. Some games, Shako, Napoleonic Shako, you throw 1 dice. Now, why? Why? Where does that come from? Well, I'll tell you where it comes from, because I know. So, no, it comes from 60s and 70s, where it didn't say how many dice to throw. It just said, throw dice. So, in the UK, what tended to happen was, thanks to things like War Games Research Group, Arthur Taylor miniature figurines, we tended to throw 1 dice. Because that most our rules did. Donald Featherstone was a big fan of a 2 dice system because he argued that it took away the extremities. It sort of lowered the bell curve. There's only one way of getting a 6 on a D6, isn't there? There's a lot of ways of getting a 6 on 2 D6. So but in the United States of America, club games and war games rules, they always favoured 2d6. So 2d6 is an American club invention. 1d6 is a United Kingdom game invention. Partly because in the UK we played club games and we wanted them over in 2 or 3 hours because people had to go home. You had to put all the tables away in the church hall. So it made sense. And with 1 dice, you're far more likely to fail morale or get killed because you've got less options. So if you've got to save on a 5 or more, and you're only throwing 1 dice, you're far more likely to die than if you've got to save on a 5 or more and you're throwing 2 dice and adding them together. But in the US, they like the games to be longer and less bloodthirsty, more tactical, more sort of careful games that went on longer. So, so I thought that's an interesting thing, isn't it? So I've always done the 1 game. I'd never done any 2 dice games until I played Lion Rampant. And that was within the last 15 years. Before that, I wouldn't have dreamt of it. I was through 2d6, 1d6. It's like that's how life was. So, anyway, that's it. That's what. And finally, a final thought. I'm sorry about that. We old gamers, I'm 70, right? People my age and older who are still gaming are not going to be here forever. And when we've gone, who's going to remember? Who's going to be able to tell you what it was like? Oral tradition. Because it's all right reading about it, and it's all right thinking about, well, I wonder what I mean. We can tell you. We can tell you. We can show you what it was like. I can give you glimpses of the past. I can put you in a time machine and I can take you into the 60s and I can take you into the 70s and I can tell you about the games we played. So when I'm gone and withered and all, that's me as a ghost. Woo! At least what happened is still sort of exists in the ether somewhere. I don't know if that's important or not, but I sort of have a feeling it is, because otherwise it's all going to be forgotten and you're not going to know why you play 40k. You're not going to know why you play Blood and Plunder. You're not going to know why you throw 2 dice in Dragon Rampant. You're not going to know why you throw 1 dice in Shako. You're not going to know who invented the use of D20s. You're not going to know all of these lovely, wonderful things that I know and my generation know, and you're not going to know. So I'm going to tell you. It'd been fascinating to know how many of you younger players and gamers have stuck around for that load of nonsense. Oh. Anyway, Chuck, all I can say is doing YouTube and talking to you guys has made a happy man feel extraordinarily old.